Hello! So I feel like it's been a while since we've been down here. You can see my hands, and that means today we're going to be doing an overhead video, and more specifically, we're going to be duping some new releases. Now, I've seen a lot of new releases, specifically eyeshadow palettes. There have been a lot, and a lot of them have caught my attention, and I know a lot of them have caught your attention as well. I know, I can sense it through the screen. So today I'm going to be saving you a few pennies, and I'm going to be duping all of these palettes in my collection. Now, of course, everyone's collection is so different, so I guarantee you have something along the lines of this in your collection already. But just before we do jump into the video, if you have not already, be sure to like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I really think that I can do it. I'm edging closer and closer, and I'm so unbelievably excited. So today I'm going to be doing swatches. I'm going to be going through my makeup collection, trying to find pre-made palettes that kind of dupe the vibes of these new palettes, and I'm also going to be doing a bit of a BYOP as well. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So the first palette that I want to talk about today, it's from a brand that I really don't care about, and I've been on this rant so many times. And even if I did like this brand, this color story is not for me, but I've seen a lot of hype over this on the internet. This is the new Natasha Denona Roxa palette, and it is a very pink and purple leaning palette. I feel like my lighting's going to go in and out in this video because I decided to swap to a black towel, so excuse that. I'm not a pink girl, I'm a blue girl, I'm a cool tone taupe kind of girl, but if this palette did interest you, let's have a look around, let's see what I have. Even though I'm not a pink girl, I still have quite a lot of dupes for this, I think. So the palette that instantly came to mind is my Colourpop. It's my pleasure palette. It is pretty much all rubbed off here. You can barely see the writing on this anymore. And this is what this palette looks like inside. You can see it's definitely got this theme going. It does have these kind of more blue leaning purples and also these kind of reddy purples. It has a bit more of a taupey purple. It's got mid-tones, dark tones, everything like that. I think this is a really good, inexpensive dupe for this palette. I do feel like some of the shades in the Roxer are very similar. I feel like you get pretty much all of those shades in this palette. What do you think? This was definitely the first palette that came to mind, so let's swatch it and see how it compares to the Roxer swatches. Okay, so mine is a little bit old. Yeah, you can see that swatch there. Not the best at swatching, but they still perform really nicely on the eyes. They just need to be built up a little bit. Okay, so they're the first three shades. I feel like we're already getting a little bit of a Roxer theme. I know that the Roxer does have some duochromes in there. So if you were specifically after them, then maybe the Roxer is best for you. However, I do find that the Natasha Denona duochrome formula isn't that great, so I don't know. It's all about seeing different reviews and seeing what's best for you. But I know for me, again, I don't want to be too repetitive, but like I said, I'm not really a purple person, so for me the Colourpop palette is more than enough. So these are the swatches of the Colourpop palette. Let's put them next to the Roxer swatches and see what we can see. I feel like Roxer does sometimes pull a little bit more cool. This is definitely more of a warm tone purple palette. There is this more cool tone leaning shade, which is Chicklet, but other than that, it is very warm purples. So if you're specifically looking for those super cool tone purple shades, maybe the Roxer is best for you. I feel like in the Roxer, there's a lot more lighter shimmers as well. So if that's something that floats your boat, maybe definitely look at the Roxer. But I think overall, this is a pretty good dupe. So that was the palette that I think is most like the Roxer. I do have two more. So if you are after more pink leaning shades and those special duochromes, I would recommend the Pastel Roses Crushed Diamonds Quad. This is the quad number 2, and this has those duochromes and those more pink shades. I won't spend too long on this one because it's not like exact. This is more just like the vibe of it. This is, again, definitely more pink leaning. It is not that purple that we see in the Roxer, but if you are more interested in pinks, then this is definitely the way to go. I know there is a bit of a hot debate online right now whether the Roxa palette is pink or purple. So if you are looking for pinks, definitely check this out. This is $11.99 and you can get 20% off with code Caitlin20, not affiliated, just for you to get some money off. You can see those sparkles are beautiful. Definitely what the Colourpop palette was missing. These like super intense, sparkly, shimmery shades. So pretty. But I'm going to move on from this one because it is kind of just like a vague vibe. Definitely should have swatched that one last because now I have shimmer all up my arm. Okay, and next is the BeautyBay Celestial Charms palette. This was one I actually didn't think about straight away, but if you look in here, it's very pink and purple leaning. It's got all of the shades that the Roxa has. It has these two teals as well and this gold, but if you kind of cover those up like that, that is the Roxa palette. Like, you cannot tell me any differently. This is brand new on the market. I have done a review of this, but let me kind of try and swatch things in the order that Roxa swatches, because I think that will give me a really, really good idea of the comparison, because I feel like this is a really strong match. It is kind of difficult to see exact swatches and things like that, but I'm just gonna try and go for it. Obviously, this palette is out of order compared to the Roxa, because it's not the same palette, but I'm gonna try and get a basic vibe going. This is the BeautyBay palette swatched, and I will put the Roxa palette next to it as well. I feel like we did a really good job on this one. I feel like this definitely has the same vibe. Something that I learned while I was swatching this is that this is definitely darker tones than the Roxa. It definitely has that deeper vibe, and the Roxa definitely has more of a light shimmer kind of feel to it. It has a lot of very nice like blending shades, whereas the BeautyBay palette is definitely more dark. The BeautyBay palette does have this blending shade here, so you can definitely get some more light blends with it, but it would be a lot more difficult to get a lighter blend with the BeautyBay palette over the Roxa, just because it is so deep and dark. Something that I found as well while swatching this, I said during the Colourpop palette that the Roxa seems more cool toned. I actually don't think it is. I think it is just an illusion, because I do have this more cool tone bluey purple here called Cosmos, and that is kind of the only cool tone purple in the Roxa, apart from the shade that I tried to dupe up here, the second shade. I think it's a bit of an illusion there. So this is definitely a really good palette if you've just bought this palette, or you can buy this for £16 on BeautyBay rather than, how much is Roxa? Like 60 something? $69. So I will have a link to this palette and all the palettes that I speak about down below, so you can definitely save money on the Roxa. Okay, so for the BYOP, I thought this would be a lot more difficult than it was. I feel like I got a really, really good dupe of the Roxa just from my singles collection. Now, as I said before, I'm not a pink girl, so I don't think I have that many pinks in my collection, but of course I did pull out the pink and purple palettes for this. Now, I am really happy with this. The way it looks is absolutely perfect for the Roxa palette, and honestly, I did not think that I would be able to get such a good dupe from this. But I did, of course. I will, of course, go through the shades and swatch them for you all. But what do you think? I was not expecting this. There are a few slight changes, but overall, I think I did such a great job. Okay, so let's swatch my version of Roxa, and we'll see how close I actually got. So first is Sunshine Sparkle from the Pastel Roses, and this is a beautiful white to pink duochrome. It has a really, really pigmented reflect to it. I hope you can see that there. Next is the Revolution Maxi Reloaded shade 14, which is more of a cool tone purple. Next, we have the Pastel Roses Marshmallow, which is a pink to yellow duochrome. Next is the Revolution Maxi Reloaded shade 13, which is more of a mauvey pink. Next, we have the shade Peony from the Pastel Roses, and this is definitely a lighter, more champagne pink shimmer. I'm definitely getting more very light kind of shades with this BYOP. Next, we have the shade Delectable from the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. This is definitely more of that like brownie kind of purple. Moving on to Prism from the Pastel Roses. This is a super special shade. This is like purple, green, pink, and blue all in one. It is such a special shimmer. It is so gorgeous. Of course, I had to throw that in there. Next, we have Enchanted from Anastasia Beverly Hills. It is a super cool tone purple shimmer. Next is the Revolution Maxi Reloaded shade 24, a definite bright pink, adding some contrast in there to the palette we already have. Next is Not a Fact from J Star, a little bit of a darker plum. Moving on to the final row, we have Foreplay from J Star, a little bit more of a kind of bubblegum pink. Next is Sleep Paralysis from J Star. This was definitely something a little bit different to the Roxer, but I wanted to throw it in. It's just like a cool toned, slightly purple taupe. Next, I have a Franken eyeshadow from LA Dreams, and that is a super cool tone purple. Next is Bloody Mary from the Pastel Roses, which is a super sparkly pink with blue reflex. And finally, Purple Punch from J Star, which is a bright Barney purple. So here we go. What do we think of this compared to the Roxer, the real Roxer? I think I did a really, really good job here. I wasn't expecting it to be so exact. I think I did a really good job. What do you think? So this just proves that with the first palette, you can definitely get something very similar if you just use your makeup collection. So with that being said, let's move on to the next palette. So next I want to talk about a palette that very, very nearly drew me in. And when I say very nearly, oh, it nearly did. This is the Makeup by Marrio Ethereal Eyes Moonlight palette. You guys may know I love my cool tones. These shades are absolutely perfect for me. So let's go through my collection. Let's figure out what I already have, and also let's dupe this palette with my singles, because I think this is going to be a really, really good palette for duping because I just love these shades so much. The first palette that I thought about was the Cosmic Brushes Cooltrals palette. Now this is a little bit different. This definitely has more emphasis on the blues than the taupes. There are only a few taupes up here. The Marrio palette is definitely more taupe than blue, but let me swatch this and let me see if we can kind of capture the vibe here. So this palette starts with some taupes. So I'm going to start with swatching these. So they are the two taupe shades swatched there. We then also have like taupey shimmers, so I'll pop that there. Like that is just stunning. Look at that. There is also like a silvery shade, which I'll pop there. I think we could probably get away with this shade, which is called Cooltral. It is a very, very light gray blue kind of shade. So I'm going to pop that there. I feel like we're already getting a kind of similar vibe here. Then, what next? I think we could put this blue in. In some lights, this palette looks like it has a navy blue in it. In some lights, it looks like it's just a dark gray. I'm really not sure, but I'm going to pop that in there. I'm going to add Shadow, which is a super deep gray. And then I'm going to add Eclipse, which is the black. You know what? I think that's a pretty similar vibe. What are we thinking? I think that's really good. I really love that. Is it absolutely exact shade for shade? No, but I think that whole like vibe is exactly what I want. I've got the super high shine shimmers. I only have 2, whereas the Marrio palette has 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's fine though. I think I can get use on these. I love these. I would like, maybe I'll throw this one in there as well. That really doesn't swatch very well. There we go. Kind of like that. I would like for this to be more brown over red. It is definitely very, very red, but that's fine. Yeah, this is what we're looking like. I feel like this has squashed my urge to spend how much? $68 on a palette, because that is pretty damn close if I do say so myself. So let's have a look at some of the other palettes that I picked. So this is the That's Taupe palette. This is definitely pulling more into the taupiness of the Holiday Moonlight palette. I'm not going to swatch this one just because we can kind of see it's not got the blue in it, but it does have these kind of more shimmery taupey kind of shades. I think this is a really good palette if you are kind of on the lighter side of makeup, if you're not planning to do these super intense smoky eyes that this palette can do. I think this is a really, really good option for you. And like I said, it's my Pam That palette and I'm really loving it. I think if I threw in like a navy blue single eyeshadow, this would be pretty much what I'm going for. Maybe a black as well. I think that would be incredible. And then again, you're saving $68 because I just pulled what I already have in my collection. I guarantee that you have taupes in your collection. Even if you don't have a full palette, you definitely have a taupe somewhere. I think that you can definitely dupe this palette out in your collection. The more that I'm doing this, the more I'm realizing that, yeah, this is very dupeable. So next I thought about this. This is my NYX Ultimate Jean Baby palette, and this is more half and half taupe, half blue, whereas the Marrio palette is definitely more taupe. So let me swatch some of these shades out. So again, I'm gonna try and go in a similar-ish order to the original. So I'm going to start with this taupe shade. You can't really see it on my skin tone, but it's definitely there. So next is a shimmer like that. That's really pretty. That's got some like blue and yellow flecks in it, which is just, oh, to die for. These, I'm realizing, are more like a true brown rather than taupe. These mattes are very either pink leaning or warm leaning. You can see that there, that's very, very pink. So that is definitely not like the Marrio palette. However, some of the shades are very similar. Like that shade I feel like is so similar. And that actually has some blue in it as well. Blue flecks in it. I never realized that before. I'm just gonna kind of go down the arm and like make a general kind of vibe, I guess. And now we're getting towards more of these blue shades. So I feel like that is a good amount of taupes. As I said, definitely a different undertone here, but is it the end of the world? Probably not. Let's go, I think we definitely need this true navy blue in there. Then I'd say this silver as well. And then this like blackened blue. Okay, how's that? I feel like this is it less true to the Marrio or is it more true? I just don't know. It is similar to the last palette that we swatched. As I said, these taupes are throwing me a little bit just because they're not quite grey enough. They are definitely more brown and pink leaning, but you know what? The general vibe I think is pretty spot on, especially with this last three shades here, the more blue ones. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. And then the final pre-made palette that I have for the Marrio dupe is the Natasha Denona Glam palette. So this palette, again, does not have any of those blues in there, but I just think if you grabbed a single blue, if you have a single blue or if you have a blue in a different palette, this is pretty much the exact same, and I really think it is. So I'm gonna test this. I'm gonna maybe pull out a blue from the NYX palette and put it with this to see how different the Marrio palette is, because you guys know I love color. I love colorful eyeshadows so much. So is it just that pop of blue pulling me in, or do I actually like the whole palette? We'll see. So again, I'm just going to kind of go down the arm, swatching. This palette is definitely more cool toned than the NYX palette. So I feel like that aspect, you can tell already, it is very, very grey, which I love. So we'll see how similar it really is. I mean, even just here, like, I really like this already. What I will say about the Natasha Denona palette is there's not many mattes. I would love for there to be a little bit more mattes in this palette. I don't know, I like building a look with some mattes. What can I say? Okay, so this is like a basic vibe that I've made. It's not shade for shade, and this does not excite me. This just doesn't. It's very grey. It's like nice for an everyday, but this does not excite me at all. So let's see if it really is just the blue that's pulling me in. Let's add that there. And suddenly I'm excited. It really is just that blue. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I feel like that blue just brought this to life a little bit. So that is a very, very good lesson learnt. I'm literally just wanting this for one shade. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now I'm gonna go into my singles collection. I'm gonna make my version of this palette because as I've just discovered, I just want it for that one shade that I don't even know if it is blue. Because in the promo pictures, it's very grey. So who knows what it is. So I'm going to make my version. So I kind of realized halfway through this that I don't have that many cool toned matte taupe eyeshadows, single eyeshadows. Oh my god, that was a sentence and a half. So this was actually more difficult than I realized to try and dupe. However, I did make some creative liberties with this palette. I did add a few more blue leaning tones because as we recently discovered, that is the whole reason I wanted this palette, not for the taupes, but for the blues. So of course I had to add in a few more blues here and there. And I actually love how this single eyeshadow palette turned out. Let me tell you, it is something so beautiful. Even though I don't have that many grey toned singles, this has my heart and soul. Okay, I'm really excited for this one. So we're going to start with Barry M Purr, and this is just a lid setting shade, a very pale shade that has now gone all over my towel. Amazing. Next we have KKW Glass, which is a really high shine silver, and of course I wanted a silver in here and this is just stunning. Next we have the shade Cup of Tea from the SOARING Revolution palette. This is slightly warmer, but I did want to have some kind of warm contrast in there, so that is that. Next we have the first big change. I think this is a shimmer actually. The picture I'm looking at doesn't really show me very, very clearly. This is the shade Smoky from the Pastel Roses, and it is kind of like KKW Glass, but a little bit darker, definitely more, as the name would suggest, smoky. Next I have the Revolution Maxi Reloaded shade 19, and this is a kind of neutral transition shade. As you can see, mine's pulling a lot more warm on the matte side, just because, like I said, I don't have that many grey tone single eyeshadows. Next is a new shade. This is definitely very different from the original palette. This is the shade Starry Night, and it is a stunning taupe with a blue reflect, and this belongs in this palette 100%. Next I have, I don't even know what shade it is. It's not got a name, but it is from the Pastel Roses, and it is more of a taupey shimmer, as you can see there. Next, we have Hot Fudge from J Star, and this is the only taupe single eyeshadow that is matte that I have in my collection, so of course I had to put that in. Next is Barry M Prowl, and it is a dark matte brown. Next we have another one of my favorite shades. This is Glamour from the Pastel Roses. It is a super high shine taupe. This I could wear all day every day. It is just breathtaking. Look at that. Next we have Revolution Maxi Reloaded shade 17, and this is that matte navy blue that we were absolutely drawn to. Doesn't swatch very well, but that's fine, that's fine. And then finally I have LA Splash Onyx, which is a black. So that is what my swatches look like. Very different from the original. I know, I just don't have that many grey tone taupey shades, so this is what we're gonna have to deal with. It's quite nice though. If you take away these two shades, I think that looks very, very similar. If you try and replace those two warm shades with more cool tone shades, I think that is going to be really, really good, pretty exact. And like we've already discovered in this video, I definitely do have replacements for these shades just elsewhere in my collection and not in my singles collection. So I think this dupe is another big win. Okay, so that is what I wanted to go through today. I was going to do a few more, but this video has got very, very long. I've been filming for an hour now, which is a little bit crazy. So if you like this video, definitely let me know if you want me to do some more. I did do a community tab recently, basically asking what you wanted to see and what changes you'd make to my channel. And a lot of you guys said that you wanted some dupe content. So here you go. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, definitely like and subscribe. Have I saved you some money in this video? Let me know down below. If I have, that is incredible, makes my day every time. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. We're trying to hit 5,000 subscribers. We're getting there slowly. But with that being said, this is the end of this video, and I will see you tomorrow for a brand new video. Bye bye.